Hey onesies, Josh Williams here with another bonus episode of the One Man Podcast, and today my guest is one of my favorite people in the business, a good friend of mine and a guy who's been super helpful and kind to me over the years, took me under his wing at a very early stage in my comedy career, Joey Elias. Joey has performed at the Just for Laughs festival, biggest comedy festival in the world, numerous times. You know, he's got television specials. He's performed for the troops all over the place, even a place that's called Alert Nunavut, which is like one of the topmost points of Canada. Super cold, almost nobody there, but he's gone as far as that to perform for the troops. He's very charitable. Like, I got nothing but nice things to say about this guy, and I could go on and on, but I'll save you the trouble, right? You know, there's no point. But you know what? One of the things a little bit Joy is he's not like a Ned Flanders. You know what I mean? Where I'm like, oh, he's just nice to everybody. He takes care of everybody. He's so... Joey's great to you. If you're a good person, he's great to you. If you're a good cause, he's great to you. But if you're full of shit, he's also going to call you on it, which is one of the things I love about the guy. He's like one of the most fair people I've ever met. You know what I mean? There's some people, it's like, you know, they're blunt or whatever. It's like, no, Joey's not like that. Joey's the kind of guy, like, you'll see somebody go, you know what? That's fucking bullshit, right? And then we'll chat about it for a bit. This interview is going to be unlike some of the other ones. For starters, it's one of the only face-to-face interviews I've done during COVID, if not the only face-to-face interview that I've done throughout the pandemic. I drove to Montreal to see Joey. We've been trying to do this for a long time, and just the schedules never link up. So we decided, well, there's not a whole lot going on. Why don't we sit face to face? Joey's, I guess, self-isolating. I don't know if that's the right one, but he lives alone, so he's not, you know, doing anything. He's not going out to see anybody or anything like that. And we were good. I had masks on, things like that. But it was just nice to sit down with my buddy. And the funny thing is that Joey and I, whenever we get together, you know, if he's in town or whatever, you know, we'll go for breakfast or something like that. We, you know, see him at the club, but we like to, you know, hang out and things like that. And we just shoot the shit about whatever. He's a very easy guy to talk to. And in this conversation, it's much like the 200th episode where, you know, in attempting to record, there's a lot of catch up. Hey, how's it going, man? What's new with you? You know, this and that. How's the pandemic treating you? What's your routines? Like that kind of stuff. And the funny thing is, I would have sat there for like 3 hours and got it to the point where it was a real interview. Like I said, with the 200th episode, I was catching up with everybody. I was taking 40-minute conversations, hour-long conversations, and distilling them down to 10, 15 minutes worth of the stories and stuff. With this particular interview, it's funny enough because I was there in the afternoon. I parked on the street, you know, fed the meter, got myself about, you know, I think about an hour and 40 minutes was the max that I could get before it was like no parking territory. So by the time I got the gear set up and everything like that, I think I bet at an hour, and then we did our catch up thing. So this particular interview is more of a conversation of like, hey, this is what it's like to hang out with Joey and just sort of shoot the shit or whatever. Super easy to talk to guy, super easy going guy. You'll hear a few times over the course of the interview where like I'll try, or I should say the conversation, like try to turn it into an interview, and it's just not what the day had planned for us. So there's cool chatting and there's a little bit of stuff in there, but both Joey and I are like, you know what, let's do like a proper, hey, how'd you get started in stand-up comedy? What are some of the milestones you hit? Things like that conversations. We're going to sit down. We're going to do that one another time. But in the meantime, you guys get to hear what it's like to just sort of hang out with the guy. You know what I mean? We shoot the shit about things like, you know, the melons that we like to buy, but like the fruit that we buy, but how we like to buy it. You'll hear that. You know, he talks about some of the stuff that he does for his anxiety, some of the projects that he's been working on as of late. He's also the star of Everyday Joe, which is like a walk and talk kind of, segment that Global Montreal has on. So you can check that out online. If you search Everyday Joe, Joey Elias, Global, you'll find those, on the web. They're very, very funny. And he's been doing those throughout the pandemic. He records one every week. So we chat a little bit about that. But it's really just a nice conversation with my buddy. And as I said, like if you're enjoying what you listen to, just know that there is one that's more formal coming about sort of how he got started and the things he's done. Because he's a very, very accomplished comedian. He's done a lot of stuff. He's also used to be one of the personalities. I say that and it sounds like he's like a morning show guy. He used to be on the radio. He hosted a few different shows on the radio. He used to host one that the late great Ernie Butler from the Comedy Nest used to host late at night. And, you know, they would play comedy clips and shoot the shit on the radio. And it's funny because very early in my career, Joey actually invited me down to Montreal to be a co-host on that, which was a lot of fun. But anyways, I can talk about this guy forever. We've got so many stories. You know, we've been friends for, as long as I've been in comedy, 13 years. So I hope you guys enjoy the conversation. A little bit long intro, but just wanted to let you know that, like, this is more of just a conversation to sit down, hang out with the guy. I will have a more formal, more informative interview with Joey in the future. But for now, I hope you guys enjoy my conversation, my chat with the very funny Joey Elias.
Yeah!
And make an ass of myself for local Montreal every Sunday.
Do you can a bunch of them in advance?
No, we film one. I mean, we have, but usually it's I write one a week, and then we film on Tuesdays. So I use my regular routine now is film Tuesday, new idea comes out in the brain Thursday, make notes, and then write it out Friday. Submit it, make sure that it's television kosher. Yeah. And then, get ready to make an ass. Like last week's segment, I got hit in the pills 3 times. I wrote that. I mean, I wrote that into the script. I mean, I really go for it.
Was it every scene and then you get hit in the pills, or was it 3 takes?
No, it was the first one was a turnstile didn't open so I basically just take it right there. Then I get hit by a tennis serve, and then while I was playing tennis, and then for no good reason, I'm not holding a racket or anything, but a squash ball just comes out of nowhere and gives it to me. Yeah. Oh. People like when I get hurt. This is what I discovered. There was an episode or a segment, whatever you want to call it, where I jump into a snowbank and I eat like a big face full. Like I just commit to you know what I mean? Like I know that eventually I'm going to end up in some sort of rehab center for painkillers because I just give it my all. I mean, there was one scene early on where I jumped into a pile of leaves and I didn't check if there was anything under the pile of leaves. And there was a giant tree root that was sticking out, and no word of a lie, like 5 months later, my shoulder is still hurt. Like, I don't know if I did permanent damage to it, but I just thought, yeah, whatever. It looked great.
Yeah. I was chatting with Trent recently, and he was saying for stuff like they have for like this hour 22 minutes, they have like teams of people who have to go over what they're planning on doing to make sure that they won't get hurt in the process. And what brought that up is Trent and I was talking about just how like as comics we'll do what it is for the laugh. Yeah. Like we'll get the laugh, so we're committed to getting that laugh. But he's just saying like on the shows, he's like there's teams of people to make sure like. Let's make sure they don't kill themselves, because if we tell this guy to juggle chainsaws, he's going to do it for the...
Yeah, my cameraman, he's really good, in terms of making sure, like when we got into the tennis court, he was like, you did put on the jock strap, right? I was like, yeah, I put on the jock strap. I like calling it a cod piece because then it makes me feel semi superhero-ish.
Yeah, Clockwork Orange.
Like... A jock strap just sounds like, I just really don't want to take anything in the pills. Codpiece, crime fighter. Yes. There's a big difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because one you wear on the outside, unless you're Cameo from the 80s, who did that crazy Word Up song.
Yeah.
If you remember the video, he wore the jock strap on the outside. I don't know why I remember
And that's why they're not making music now. Some rules.
Yeah, well, that's the reason.
Some rules, yeah.
That and there's no more need for a synthesizer.
That's fair. I got a buddy who's going to be really excited that we're doing this because we've tried before to kind of like link up podcasts, but today this is the first podcast I've ever traveled for just the podcast.
Well, it's pretty cool, and I appreciate that.
Oh, dude, no, kidding me, it's my pleasure. I just mean that like I haven't done podcasts like face to face in a long time. It's all the Zoom bullshit, and I avoided the shows like the plague, and I avoided doing podcasts like this because I've done some. The 200th episode just happened, and it was all like Facebook or not Facebook. Yeah, Facebook video. We used Facebook was actually our platform, not Zoom. And it was like some of the audio was just awful, and bad connections and things like that. And I'm just like, I'd rather, if I'm going to introduce someone or share someone with my listeners, like let's at least have it be good quality. So yours was one I wasn't willing to.
Well, I hope it's entertaining then.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
I will go on record. I mean, this comes off as a surprise, but I know that I say a lot of crazy stuff that people should not normally say. I think I'm missing that genetic element that, lets me filter stuff. But I am a fairly shy individual.
Are you?
Yeah. Yeah. Socially, I'm a social tumor, man.
Really?
Yeah.
I've always enjoyed your company.
Here,
I've never found you to be shy, but maybe we're comfortable with each other.
Well, that's it. Once I get to know somebody, and we've worked enough times now over the past 15 years or whatever, it's like when I go to Ottawa, there's no awkwardness because the Ottawa scene reminds me so much of the Montreal scene.
Yeah.
In terms of especially when I was starting out, like there's a great group of Ottawa comics that, again, if politics was put aside,
yeah,
holy shit, the ability for everybody to just explode out of that city, and that's what, I mean, listen, pandemic time is different. I mean, nobody's going to explode anywhere. The only thing that's going to explode is our brain from boredom.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
My fucking scrotum full of anyway, no, but seriously, like these are different times, and it's just, I don't know. I hope we all come back like we did before.
I mean, yeah, I hope so too. And there's a lot of people like, I think it's going to come back with a vengeance. I just had Easter dinner with my brother and his wife and my mom. It was just the four of us and their kid. I guess he counts as a person, but while he's little, he's not one of the main attendees.
Well, they don't have to wear masks or anything.
Yeah, it was small. So if anyone's like, "Oh, you're hosting," I was there with 4 people. But my brother started talking about something, and not to put like him on blast, but he's talking about, the Great Reset, that they're this and that, and I'm like, because everyone, for the longest time, my position, everyone's like, why is the government shutting us down? Why do they want to keep us at home? I'm like, they're paying us to stay home. I don't see the logic in that. Like, you'd think that they'd want us back. But at the same time, there's theories, and I just haven't heard all of them. I'll listen, right? I'm not the guy who goes, the pharmaceutical companies are your friends and they've got your best interests. Like, I don't believe that.
I like a good conspiracy theory, but you better back it up.
Yes. You can't just be like, that aliens are in charge of all the aluminum. It's like,
I mean, listen, when we film the Everyday Joe, I don't even think we told people who I am yet.
I'm going to tell them on the intro.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You don't have to do any of that.
But when we do the Everyday Joe, obviously my camera guy is decked out in global gear.
Right.
He's got it on the camera. He wears a global ball cap 9 times out of 10, or a global jacket. And the vehicle we're in is plastered with Global News Montreal. So without fail, at least once or twice a month, we are approached by an individual, and always well dressed, always very polite. They always hand me a business card. And this was the craziest one, is a gentleman, a lawyer, obviously a little bit older, starts going off about, it's Bill Gates and the Obamas with the Clintons and David, my cameraman, goes, and don't forget the Freemasons.
Yeah.
And this guy just, oh yes, the Masons. And you're like, what the, like we could have said sugar at that point, and he would have been like, yeah, anybody consuming sugar is just going to end up with, I don't know. This whole thing, when you talk about the reset, I was very wrong off the top. Like when this first started, I thought, okay, this is going to eliminate some of those like the fringe comedians that have been doing the same shit for 15 plus years and couldn't get off open mic night. And even some of the shows that they booked themselves were failures.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I thought, okay, well, these individuals now, they're going to have to find a job. I was wrong, because now they're sitting around going, look, I'm making the same amount of money as so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so, not thinking that, whether it was at the beginning, the 2000 or now the 900, that's, a spit in the ocean for the people that they just mentioned.
Right.
that $2,000, that individual probably never made $2,000 in 15 years doing stand-up.
Right.
So I was very wrong. So in terms of the reset, the only thing I now hope happens with the reset is that consumer confidence comes, you know, and when everybody does get the vaccine, and the World Health Organization, you know, declares that this pandemic is now officially over. We still have to take certain precautions, and like, look, we may have to get this shit in our arm every year, like the flu shot. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
So we don't know, but I just hope that when the reset, or whatever you want to call it, the reopen of society, I hope the consumer confidence is there for people to come out and, you know, everybody talks about support local. It is a big thing. You know, comedy clubs and music venues and the artists that perform there, not to mention the staff, you know, from the wait staff to the people in the kitchen to the door staff, office staff. These are all people just jonesing to get back to work.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and I hope that there is a group of people that are as eager to go watch as we are to get back.
Well, Jay said the last night before they shut us down, like that was Friday, he said that it was like, it's one of the best shows he's seen in a long time. The thing was sold out. He's like, we probably turned away 50 people.
Right.
So when everyone knew it was going to be their last opportunity for a while, he's like, everyone came out, and he goes, and they were one of the best crowds, best laughers. They were into everything. Everyone got applause breaks. So
I thought we were back to normal when I was in Ottawa about a month ago.
Yep.
You know?
Nope. Back to lockdown for Ottawa.
You know, and then I got heckled by a woke white woman. And I thought, oh, perfect. Everything's back to normal now. You know, I said a trigger word that set off fucking some white Karen.
Yeah, well, they haven't been able to go out and complain about things in a while, too, so they're also enjoying.
The only thing that made me feel better was I got back to the condo that night, and I flipped on to the Twitter. Yeah, I'm 110. I just said the Twitter. And I saw Jessica Curson tweet out, we must be back to normal. Got heckled by a white drunk woman. And I thought, I'm in good company.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if she just if somebody, first of all, who the fuck heckles that kind of talent?
Yeah.
You know, like also, you're paying good money to see Jessica.
Yeah.
Why? Like, if you're sitting at that, and this goes for anybody of a certain level, if you're paying at any level, if you're paying a decent amount of money and the individual on stage is funny and somebody at your table is drunk, shut them the fuck up.
Oh, they
do everybody a favor. And if I'm the headliner, I will, if I see this, that you take a drunk person out, I will personally make sure management gives you another ticket to another show.
Yeah.
Because you actually save that show for everybody.
I look at it like it's a fucking bus flying down the street. And instead of them going like, we should get in the way of this bus and stop it from hurting just like, get the fuck out of its way. The people at the table, they're like, oh God, so-and-so's, and they're just shrinking away from it.
Yeah.
It's like everyone at a dinner table when the husband and wife start fighting. No one's like, hey guys, you're ruining dinner for everyone. They're just like, oh fuck.
Yeah, that's when even the shittiest meal tastes delicious. Eh? Mom and dad are fighting again. Fuck, I love broccoli. I don't know what they did to it. It's still. Have you tried the broccoli?
Yeah. So I think that's what it is. When they're at the table, they're just like, oh, they're like, I'm not.
But also, if you think about it, when it was open, you know, a lot of people have been doing the drinking at home. But it's not like consuming in public, because you don't realize that at home, you pace yourself a little bit more. I don't know. I'll be very honest.
I would say it's like you don't have to see the person again in public.
Right. But I will say, I don't know. To be very honest, I've had like 3 drinks this whole time. You know, one in June, one in November, and then one at the club in Ottawa.
Yeah.
That was it. On the flip side, I've probably smoked more marijuana than I have before.
Right.
Because it's boredom. Where I smoked marijuana before this, really to control my anxiety. Mm. You know, and people are going to be like, oh, really, Joe? Yeah. I did research, because when I did get diagnosed with anxiety and depression and all that shit, the first thing they do is, they pump you up with meds. And I just wanted to know that if there was non, manufactured way to control it, I'm in.
Yeah.
So having done my research, I know now that anything in a strain with, and this may sound weird, but with a fruit in its title. So green apple, black cherry. There's one just called grapefruit. If I'm feeling uber anxious, that's what I do. I will smoke a little bit of that, and about 20 minutes later, I'm fine.
Interesting. As I get bad anxiety, but I get it. Like I never get panic attacks. I don't get panic attacks, but I'm just in that constant, like, I would say extreme unease.
Oh yeah.
Overthinking, like just getting stressed out needlessly. So I'm never like, I can't, like, but it just like, just this constant overwhelmed, overthinking to the point of overwhelmed. It doesn't go beyond that, but it's just incredibly uncomfortable.
For me, it's, I don't know about you, like bedtime, like as soon as my head hits the pillow, no matter how tired I am, my mind just goes to
I just sleep with the TV on. The noise from the TV.
fucked up places, man.
Yeah. I can't sleep in the dark because, well, not the dark.
What are you, 9?
But I can't sleep with silence.
I have to sleep with a nightlight.
I don't give a fuck about the darkness.
My
but I need
closet door
sound.
has to be slightly ajar so there's no monsters.
I think if that was my mentality, I would probably close the closet door. No, it's not the dark. It's the like nothing. I can't go with silence. So I could put like my phone on and have like a podcast on, and it's that, like, eyes closed, but it's just, I can't be the source of thought. I'll let my brain hear the TV and the story in the background, and I'll pass out.
I listen
need
to
a
music.
distraction.
I do.
Yeah?
I put in headphones, and I have a playlist, just for, sometimes it's instrumental.
Yep.
I
do spa music.
I'll tell you, I've discovered some incredible soundtracks.
Yeah.
Scores, but done by like Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits. So if you like wonderful guitar, I mean, the soundtrack to, or the score, I should say, not the soundtrack, but to Princess Bride.
Oh yeah.
Is done by Mark Knopfler, and it's some of the most amazing and serene guitar playing. I'm not a guitar player, but I know good music when I hear it, because most comedians wanted to be a musician.
Right.
Right? And I love music. So I think I have a good ear, for not necessarily like voice, but for like when you get 5 good musicians together and you just put them together and you just go, okay, go at it. Eventually they're just in a minute and a half, they're going to be
They're
like,
going to find something.
yeah, man, there's magic because there's talent there.
Yeah.
No,
I agree with you. And the thing too is, like, no one can be like, this music's good. If you like it and it works. I used to listen to, my mom had this album of like, it was called like The Romantic Guitar of Leona Boyd or whatever.
Sure.
And it was phenomenal. It was a lot of just like Scarborough Fair and shit, but it was
Wasn't
done.
she Canadian, Leona Boyd?
She might have been. Hey Siri, is Leona Boyd Canadian? This is my new thing now to do a podcast and do no research. Let's see what she says. She's processing. Or she's still listening.
I don't know why Leona Boyd strikes me as, and she was known for a different type of guitar.
Yeah, it was like, it sort of sounded like flamenco or something like that.
Which, by the way, is the title to one of the most beautiful songs in the world by the Tragically Hip. Flamenco.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. It includes the lyrics.
London, England.
Oh, Leona Boyd's British?
Seemingly.
I feel like I'm ripped off now.
She's 71 years old. Yeah, born 11th of July, 1949, London, England, UK.
That's
And then
bullshit.
it says genres classical new age. But there's an album called like The Romantic Guitar of Leona Boyd.
Yeah.
I'm going to see if I can find that.
She was very popular when I was like, I know this is weird, but I just inherited a whack of vinyl that my mom left behind.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot of Dylan, a lot of Pete Seeger, a lot of Joan Baez.
Yeah. One Tin Soldier.
So let's just say that I may be listening to those tunes and having some faux anxiety and having to take care of it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what grows great with a 1963 Pete Seeger? A 2021 grapefruit leaf.
This is fucking. I don't see it here. There's one here called Spanish Fancy. I'm going through her albums. Oh, there it is. The romantic, but it's a different cover. The romantic guitar of Leona Boyd. It's like
What year was that? I'm terrified. I'm
no,
going to go with 1978.
85.
Oh, way off.
Yeah, I don't see. But this one had Scarborough Fair's on here, but it was called this Moonlight Sonatas on here. But yeah, it was just like.
How do you play Moonlight Sonata on that?
That's what I'm thinking.
Guitar.
Pardon me. I might listen to this on the way home.
Oh God.
Just
you know what's going to
passing
happen.
out.
Yeah, you know what's going to happen. Both of us after this are going to be like, "All right, that was fun. All right, cheers," and be like, "All right, time to listen to Moonlight Sonata by Leona Boyd," and then fall in love with that version.
Oh, dude.
And then be like, I'm going to go buy all her albums.
I got Apple Music. No more buying albums.
Or whatever, you know what I mean.
At this point, I'm pretty sure it would just be paying for her. She's 71. At this point, if we bought her albums, the money would go to paying her nurses in whatever home she's in.
I hope not.
I hope not, too.
71 is young nowadays.
I guess. How old are people living? Are there a lot of centenarians or whatever? Is that what they're called?
Well, they're getting. My dad's 87, and he's, he walks like 3-4 kilometers a day, takes care of himself, drives everywhere. Somehow gets bushels of apples delivered to him, and then drops them off at all his kids' house. And I'm not joking. Like just before Passover, somebody dropped off a bunch of apples at my dad's house, and
just apples,
yeah. And well, that's when he dropped off the albums. But he also was like, "Oh, I have some apples for you." I was like, "What do you want me to do with this?" Like, literally, I inherited a small orchard.
Yeah, I will eat an apple on occasion. I like them occasionally, but I shop at Costco, so like, I'll buy a bag of apples, and I'm like, I'm running out of ways to make these apples disappear. Like,
I eat an apple every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the problem is the apple. I'm very specific about my apples.
Okay.
And
deep dive Joey Elias' apple preferences.
And what I like doing is I like cutting it up and then just sprinkling some cinnamon on it.
That's exactly what I do. Do you have one of those apple things where you just press it down, it pulls the core out?
No, man. I still cut it.
You don't have to. Dude, it's just one tool.
I know.
It's like a flat tool. You just press it down.
But to me, it's like I'm doing some extra exercise.
Ah,
Really? But for golfers, also, what I do is I do it the night before. Like I cut them up in small cubes, put it in a Ziploc, shake it up, and then morning of, put it in your golf bag. And then if it's warm enough, it literally does taste like apple pie without the
it gets all hot.
Without the
pastry.
Whatever the fuck, the pie crust.
Yeah,
it's great. I love seriously. I can eat I do eat an apple a day. That's the only fruit vegetable I will go out on a limb on.
I think excuse me, one of the fruits that this is our conversation. I'm thinking about fruit. I was thinking about fruit lately. Pears. I don't I like pears, but I never think to get a pear.
No, I'm not a big pear guy.
If it's there, like if someone's got it, pears, and I'll mess with it, but I don't.
Honeydew and cantaloupe all in.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't like cutting them up. I would much rather buy one of those trays that's got the pineapple, cantaloupe, honeydew.
Oh, I just buy the sliced honeydew over at the grocery store in the fresh fruit department. They slice them up fresh for you, yeah. Because you also tell them, like, okay, I don't want a whole honeydew. Can you slice up like a quart?
I'll eat a whole honeydew if it's sliced for me.
But for a guy who lives alone, like, I'm not going to sit there all night and eat a whole honeydew by myself and then spend the next day on the John. Just being like, I know it was healthy, but boy, it's not productive the next day.
Yeah.
Pineapple's
another one that if you cut it up for me, I'll eat it, but I'm not doing the work.
Right. Well, most of the times I see pineapples already been cut.
Like in the spears or rings or whatever.
Or they they take the middle out and they cut it. The best pineapple I ever had was I did a little tour in Hawaii of the Dole Hawaii plantation.
Yeah.
And oh my God.
Were you there for shows?
You know what? I was there with the ex on vacation under the rule of no work. And then, of course, she went into the shower one night, and I called the comedy club and I basically said to her, I said, yeah, we're just going to go to the open mic after dinner. And she was like, rolled her eyes and stuff. And then I did my set, and then I was offered to stay an extra week on their behalf to headline their club. So we got an extra week out of it with pay.
Yeah. She was happy about that?
Yeah, she was happy as long as there were shoes involved. And then, yeah. Why is Joey single?
It's a good business relationship. Hey, the shoes, you can work if I get shoes. Funny as that.
But you look back at it. I mean, I joke on stage that all my failed relationships have the same common denominator, and that's me, right? But in earnest, like, I mean, at this point, I'm 49. I'm not saying I'm never going to meet anybody. How do you meet somebody in the middle of a pandemic? But
shockingly large amounts of people are doing it.
I know. But again, I wasn't good at it before the pandemic. So I never say never, but I'm very good at doing things alone, traveling alone, cooking for one. I've discovered, I do like cooking. So it's actually my nephew's birthday today, right? And I'm going to go and cook up his favorite meal for Friday. So I'll go to the market on Thursday. But yeah, it keeps me busy, especially when you get to cook for more than one person.
Yeah, I like cooking for that. The other day I made pancakes for myself for the first time in a long time. It's not even hard to do. It's just that pancakes are a production, and I'd rather be feeding lots of people if you're going to the trouble of making the batter than just one person.
I cook a lot of dinner. I make a lot of salads. I don't make breakfast because I know it's the easiest meal to probably make, but it's also the most enjoyable meal to go have served.
Oh, fuck yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And, we used to do it all the time when I'd come in, and unfortunately that place is closed down now.
I know, it sucks.
Here in town, David Acker and I would meet at least once every week or every 2 weeks at different breakfast joints.
I went with you guys one time when I was here doing shows.
Yeah, and it's just a nice way of, sitting down with some old friends and shooting the shit and having a nice meal served to you. You just feel better. You got out of the house, you just had a nice meal, you were with good company.
Yeah.
And if eggs don't slide through you right away, now the day, is right there for you.
Yeah. It's breakfast is like breakfast and pizza. I don't know if I said this in the podcast recently, but I was talking to somebody about it, and it's just, I never get sick of breakfast. I could eat breakfast like the traditional, bacon, eggs, toast, home fries. I eat it every day. I make it at home even, and I could eat it every day.
I make omelets at home. And yes, I'm with you on pizza. I can eat pizza every day.
Yeah. I mean, I might mix it up a little bit what's on it. But never get sick of it.
I eat a lot of chicken.
Yeah.
And lately, I haven't had red meat in a long, long time.
Yeah.
And like I said, a lot of veggies. And I've even gone like veggie for 2 weeks at a time where I'm just, not using any chicken, any fish. I'm going and buying like those veggie, not the Beyond Beef.
Yeah, like the
crap.
Eve's stuff, and whatever, St. Eve's or whatever it's called.
There's another one that's made in Quebec, so I support local.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever, it is Quebec, and I question that some days. But like every time I buy that patty, did I just fucking close another English business?
Right,
because they just hired another shithead at the office de la langue française. Like. I don't know. Yeah, so I just shop local as much as I can. Like even when I'm in Ottawa, like I like going to the local places, not the big chains. And that's why, even next to Absolute, like Stoneface closed.
Yeah, gone too.
Like I went to the new, it's a pizza joint, but I actually went there for breakfast.
Yeah, was it good?
It was very good.
Yeah.
But again, some of these like little places that I would love going to in Ottawa, even I forget what the pub was called now. but it was right at the corner of Elgin and Cooper. The Mayfair.
Cooper. Oh, yeah. It's gone?
Mayflower.
I think
It's now, a bigger Irish pub. And listen, I've been into that new Irish pub. The food is delicious. Again, this is pre-pandemic, everybody was very nice and friendly, but there was something about that old joint, about that old haunt that they didn't fix up the booths. And, it was like, it felt like an old mom and pop shop. And I feel like those are all going away.
Yeah.
And that's the real shame of all this, is that the people that should be given all the help that they need are, they're like, yeah, we're getting a little help. And then you find out like Bell got like $122 million. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What do you need money for? Do you see what you charge for your internet, you pieces of shit?
Yeah.
Well, there goes my chances of being rehired by Bell.
One of the things I've enjoyed watching is like Walmart falling apart during the pandemic. Because everyone's buying from Amazon, and now Amazon's getting more and more. So, I mean, I don't like Amazon either.
Yeah, but it's very convenient, and that's the thing, right? Especially if you have Prime, and you can get it there the next day without any fucking fee, and I don't have to listen. I've used Amazon. I usually and I mostly used it during the winter months, like after a big ass snowstorm or whatever.
Yeah,
I didn't want to go out, and I needed nothing really in particular, but oh, look, they have sugar-free jujubes. I'm going to have some delivered tomorrow.
Well, I've the amount of times that my podcast has been interrupted by the doorbell because Jay's got 5 things coming a day from Amazon. Like, it's convenient, but I've loved watching Walmart like pull back their return policies and their exchange policies and this and that, and it's just like they're getting destroyed. But the thing was, like, Walmart was that company that was destroying all these businesses.
Right.
And I love that some bigger thing than them has come out and is starting to, I mean, it's shot and fraud or whatever, but I mean.
Well, I mean, for Montreal, it was just between taxes, municipal taxes and provincial taxes. I'll give you the perfect example. There was a greasy spoon that was historic in Montreal called Moe's. Mm-hmm. It was actually called what was it? Casse-croûte de coin.
Okay.
Which translates into like the corner eatery, corner diner. And it was right by the old Forum. And you went downstairs. And the family, it had been in the family for years, and everybody who was anybody went in there. They had books signed by all these famous, like Sinatra and The Rocket and everybody. And it was the taxman that killed them. And there was a big rally towards the end when it went public, which was too late. But I said this back then, I'll say it again. If they were more popular with the French media and in a different part of town, they would have been saved.
Yeah. There's a lot of that. What politics is even like putting it lightly. I mean, I have no problem talking about anything on this. I just know that you're still on TV. Like,
well,
is there anything? Yeah. One of the things too, like I mean, we've been chatting for a bit, which is fine, but I want to bring people into more about you. Like, we're Fruit and Leona Boyd, and I love it. That's the charm of this versus some TV interview where it's like, tell us about the show this weekend. But one of the things that, like, because I've known you, watching you when I was younger, I've seen you on Just for Laughs and all the fun stuff.
I love hearing that. Yeah,
dude. Well, younger.
All right,
that's all. I'm not like I grew up watching you.
I love hearing that now,
which I did. But dude, you were like, I remember the first time I got to meet you, I was super excited because I'd seen you for years on Just for Laughs. I thought you're fucking hysterical, and you are funny. But one of the things that, like, I've learned about you is that, like, okay, this is something that I honestly love about you, is that you're super, super kind, generous. Like, the amount of charity stuff that you've done shows like you help out. Anybody says like, hey, you helped out people. You even go above and beyond what they've asked for in terms of your help. So one of the really cool things, and I don't know how many people know this about you outside of Montreal or whatever, is, but you're super, super kind, generous dude. But at the same time, you you basically call shit out. You know what I mean? You're not like Ned Flanders. You're like, yeah, I'll just help everybody and everything's always great all the time. Like you're a guy who's like, yeah, this is a good cause. I support local. I support this. I do charity shows that. And I love it. You've helped me out when we were doing the fundraiser for my mom's renovation for this TV
that was
show.
fun, man.
You came all the way in to do that for us. Like
I know you didn't win because it's visible that I am not a handyman. You know what I mean? Like, I know that if I wear a hard hat and something plaid, I look the part, but I am useless.
I'll have to bring that DVD over next time you're in town, and we'll watch the show.
I think I caught the episode. It was I feel bad. I didn't do much.
Well, that's fine.
I just walked around and went, yeah, that looks great.
But you headlined the fundraiser that helped us do.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, that helped us get a ton of the money. So, and you didn't take any money for it. You know what I mean? I'm like, I've got this, and you're like, I think at the time you're just like, just don't tell Jason I'm not doing it. You know, I'm not charged. So, which is fair.
I do that a lot.
He doesn't listen to podcasts.
I shouldn't say this on a podcast, but I do that a lot. I mean, one of my favorite stories was my buddy Leonard Yell.
Yeah.
Him and his partner were organizing this comedy fest called the Brouhaha, and it was out in Hudson. I think it was called the Hudson Brouhaha or whatever like that. And Len he picked a day to go sell advertising for the program, and I guess one of the things he's picked up from me, and I hope he's not the only one, is that if you're ever near a Legion, a Canadian Legion, and you have the time to go in, if it's open, and say hello, buy a beer, buy a coffee, buy whatever, but listen to those stories, because you want to learn. And when these heroes tell you their stories, look them in the eye, because some of them go to a different place, and you will understand PTSD, and you will understand that even in what, and I put this in air quotes, peacekeeping missions they were on, some of them saw horrific things, and they just need a friendly face. They just want, another ear, so that's what I always look for. So Len was, going around Hudson, and he saw that the Legion was open, and he walked in. He said he was greeted by the woman. How can I help you? And he was like, oh, I'll buy a coffee. Can I have a coffee? And she served him the coffee, and she said, what brings you to town? And he explains, and he says, I stopped in here not to sell advertising, but because my friend Joey Elias said, if you ever see a Legion open, go in. And the woman's like, a couple years ago, Joey said not to tell anybody, but he helped us raise X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
And Len was like, yeah, we didn't know. And there's a lot of, and I don't, I do a lot of charity work that is public. I learned charity came naturally to me because I watched my grandparents be very hospitable and open. I watched my parents, like, it was rare that on a weekend there wasn't some exchange student or some random cousin staying in the guest room, either at, my parents' place or my grandparents' place, or even my mom would get her brother and his wife, putting up kids. And they were always involved in community work, charity wise. And then when, I started doing stand up, Ernie Butler, who passed away, but he founded the Comedy Nest in Montreal. He had this program, and it still continues, called Comedy for a Cause. And it was, you buy tickets, for your charity, and you pick a specific date for the show, and then you sell them at an X amount of price, and you keep the profits. So you realize that there's a way to make money doing what you love and helping out others. There have been times, very few, to be honest. Like, I think I can remember 5 times where I've no, keep the money.
Yeah.
There was one recently. It was a cancer center here in Montreal that does research and stuff. And, they called me up and they were like, look, we don't have a lot of money. I was like, you know what? Just keep it, and they were like, oh, that's crazy. And, I didn't ask for it. They sent me a receipt, and as a thank you, the president sent me a beautiful piece of art of a hockey player, that I like. And it was yeah.
And it's nice to see. And I've tried that too, because not only are you nice to, the charities and kind and generous, you're also very generous to like up and coming comics and everything like that too. There's a lot of people, like myself included. I was, I think, a year into, maybe a year and a half, whatever, very early in my comedy career. And I went to go see a show with my girlfriend on New Year's Eve at the club. And we were just chatting and you're like, hey, have you been to the Nest yet? And I was like, no, I haven't. I've done the open mic at the Comedy Works, or, the old room Paul Ash ran in a basement or whatever. I'm like, I've done little spots at those. And you're like,
which Paul Ash room was that? Was that Andrews?
I couldn't tell you. It was like, I came here with Daryl Purvis and we did the last show. So like I had only done, it was in a tiny little, like it was on the corner underneath a tall, like a little long, narrow sort of bar room where you come in the bars on the side, and that's it. It's almost like those bars Jason likes to go to in Ottawa near the club, where it's just a little hole in the wall long.
I don't remember. It sounds like Andrews.
This would have been like 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And that would have been like the last show.
And the truth be told is so many of the bars are gone or have changed names, or, different, like, one used to be a pizza joint. Now it's a burger joint. You know what I mean? Like, so I can't keep track.
And really, it was just like any city's open mic scene. So like, I'm like, the only thing I've done in Montreal is like whatever open mic or amateur night. And you were like, well, I'm going to be, you're like, let me, and at the time, cause I've been in sales for years before stand up. So you were just like, like, now let me see what I can do. Maybe, get it. And at the time I was like, that's nice. I wasn't holding my breath, cause I'm just like, who knows? Right. But like, no word of like 2 days later, you emailed me and you're like, hey, I'm going to be on at this date, and if you want to come out and do my opening for, it was myself and why can't I think of her name? I think she's in Los Angeles now. Oh, it's embarrassing. Good, she was a good friend too, but she's just been gone for a while. She did like Umbrella Bed or whatever, short redhead.
Sarah Quinn.
No, this was a while back. Whatever. I'll think of it later. Yeah. When it doesn't matter on the podcast. Anyways, but you brought us out and you introduced me to Silver and Ryan, because they had taken over after Ernie passed. And this was before Dave and Phil had it.
I always just treated the young comics, the ones that again, it's funny to, some of the guys that I'm friends with now on the Montreal scene, when they, explained to me that, when they started and I would walk in, they were very intimidated. Mm-hmm. And even later on, I never meant to intimidate anybody. Just sometimes when I get to the club, I'm in that zone and I seem very aloof, and sometimes I'm not very talkative, especially if I've been working on a new bit and I decide tonight's the night.
Yeah.
I got to do this fucking bit, commit to it. And it's now I'm just working it in my head. There are times where, yes, I can come off as, but like you said, if there's, the thing is I will call out bullshit.
Yeah, you're fair. You're a nice guy, you're fair.
But this is the way I was taught, is just be kind to everybody. Mm-hmm. If they have talent, you believe in them, help them, with whatever, as best you can. And it's up to them eventually to use that knowledge or not. And if for some reason, there's a young comic that doesn't like me, that's the one thing that the one best piece of advice, and it doesn't happen overnight, but I figured out, and I still don't sleep well, but I sleep better. That means I only wake up 3 times a night. But once you figure out not everybody is going to like you, life gets easier.
Yeah. And if you can come to peace with that, because it's for me, it's always been a tough pill to swallow, because I was like, I want everyone to like me. Like,
yeah,
it's impossible for starters. So
right. I mean, I learned it. Imagine I don't even remember how long I've been in stand-up, but then I got into radio, and that's when I realized, not everybody's going to like you.
Yeah.
And then that just went into life, that went into stand-up. It went into, the TV stuff I do now. Yeah. Not everybody's going to like you. And for whatever reason it is, I try to give everybody a fair chance. You cross me, I'll even give you a second chance. There's only one, honestly, I say this, there's only one human being that and it's probably not healthy, but I hold a grudge because I feel that this individual crossed like a huge line. Like he crossed an abyss with me. And
This is the one from years ago?
yeah, and he kind of kept at it. He said some stupid, and I don't know if he was drunk. Again, I'm not using it as an excuse for him, but when somebody in the comedy community here in Montreal passed away, he was very vocal about who gives a crap and this and that.
Wow.
So the only thing I would say is I hold a grudge against this guy because he is your typical keyboard warrior. The last time I saw him face to face, I was waiting on the platform of the Metro here in Montreal. I was wearing a t-shirt I guess he liked. Didn't see that it was me. And I hear, "Hey man, nice t-shirt." And I look up and it's the dude. And we made eye contact, and I've never seen a fatter white man run like this. Now, that's why I don't have respect for this guy.
Right. He's a coward.
Because had he looked at me and said, "Nice t-shirt," "Oh, you. Listen, by the way, man, I meant what I said." And I've invited him through various, because he has me blocked on every social media site. Again, cowardly.
Right.
But through different channels, I have invited him. And I said, "You can bring as many people as you want as witness. We can videotape, audio, whatever." I said, "But I just want to sit across from you and have a conversation.
Yeah.
And I want you to explain to me what in the fuck you were thinking when you took a shit on somebody who passed."
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck what he has, listen, he did some pretty shitty things to me, did some pretty shitty things to others. And like I said, I hold a grudge because somehow karma hasn't smacked him in the face yet.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm learning patience during this pandemic, but I'm one of the most impatient people I've ever met. That's why people like golfing with me. Because I'm not one of these guys that, 6 minutes over a ball to shoot 110.
Yeah.
We're not good enough to line it up and sit there for 20 minutes, man. Let's, walk up to the ball, aim, pick the club, fire away, light up a new dart. Let's move.
I'm so impatient, I don't even golf. I just drive from hole to hole drinking. I'm like, why are we slowing down for this ball tap and shit?
Well, I do realize that when I,
Let's just drink and drive here where it's legal.
Well, I will say, apparently I suffer a lot of anxiety on a golf course as well. I do like smoking weed on a golf course. Again, because it does slow me down enough where I don't get anxious that we have to play quick. That's why I used to play quick. When I first started playing golf, we would just go to these public whatever. And then as it started becoming a work thing, where you get invited to these tournaments and you're the host or the entertainment or whatever, there was always somebody behind you, and within vision.
Yeah.
Now, you knew if you thought normally everybody's, paced out, and everybody's going through the same issues. But I would be like, "Oh my God, somebody's on our tail. Let's go, let's go, let's go."
Oh, yeah.
So now
I have friends who are like that in a lineup at the grocery store. Like, even though you're paying and you're getting your shit out, like, just the idea that, like, you're stopping someone, like,
right,
and you're just in line. Everyone gets their, but like, can't shop because that level of anxiety and stress.
I mean, that's how Canadian I am. So once I realized that, and again, without taking, some sort of GMO medication on a golf course where it's going to knock me out, again, through my research, I know that if I smoke the green apple or the apple pie or the blueberry or something in that fruit category, I'm going to be able to function, right? Because, the THC level's not high enough that it's going to fucking put me to bed. And then all of a sudden you're like, hey, Joey, it's your shot. And you realize I'm in the golf cart snoring away, or you're chasing after the girl, the girl driving the cart, not in a pervert way. It's because they have Cool Ranch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God. You have that and Gatorade Zero. What? Trade you carts. But it does. And funny enough, like I played a game last summer with two friends of mine. And the front nine, I was a disaster. I was all over the place and we stopped in between. And again, with all the COVID protocol, just to buy a sandwich was like a 10-minute ordeal.
Right.
But he's like, listen, man, because he knew me. He goes, did you smoke a joint today? I said, no. He goes, go smoke your little calm down joint. What sandwich do you want? I'll get you the sandwich. I smoked a joint, and I shit you not, I shot 9 strokes better on the back nine. And It's not easier. It was just that literally, all of a sudden, I calmed down. I played my game. And they said, you were even more jovial on the course with us because I was at ease.
Yeah. It's like that fucking jackhammer noise and the screaming and the this and the that and the vacuum cleaner. It's just a lot at least for me with my anxiousness, when there's a lot of stimulus. Most of the time, all that stimulus is the sound in my own head of the overthinking and all the other stuff. But if you can just
I wake up,
smooth some of it out.
And I'm surprised these neighbors haven't made noise yet. But I have the privilege of having very thin walls between myself and the loudest 3 people in the world that make a lot of smoothies.
Oh, do they?
And when you wake up to that, it's even worse than setting an alarm. Because in your head, okay, the alarm's going to go off, whatever. But when you get woken up by yelling and screaming and a blender or whatever, that extra peripheral noise is what sets me off.
Yeah.
So that already puts me in a bad mood. The only good thing about it is that it whether it happens at 8:30 in the morning or 7:15 in the morning, if it goes on for more than 15 minutes, it motivates me. I'm out of bed, right? I set my coffee machine. I jump in the shower. And before I know it, I'm out taking my walk. So they actually, in a way, motivate me to get out, get a little exercise in. And then once the blood starts flowing, I come back. And that's when I make notes for either, what am I going to write today? Do I have to write my script for Everyday Joe? Do I just want to go through some old jokes and rehash them or that's what I'm doing too now, is I'm trying to just go through the old material and get rid of it.
Yeah.
Just some of it that works, I'll keep, but I think that about 95% of it, I want to, I'll use it when the clubs open up across Canada and we can travel again and tour and whatever. I'll phase everything out. Like I'll just use that to get back to a level where I feel comfortable in terms of my timing and pacing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, and I still use it, some of the old go-to material when you're doing the Zoom shows.
Yeah, and you've done a few of those, right?
Yeah, and I have a few more coming up.
Oh, really? You're looking forward to them?
Again, I guess as time goes by, you just adapt, right? When I first did I did the first one in November, like for the start of office party season. It was bizarre because nobody had really done it yet. Nobody knew the rule. So now you get on and you just tell them, listen, unmute yourself. That way I can hear the laughter. But be aware that if your child or the phone or, somebody in the other room doesn't realize you're watching, that's when you mute yourself.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll call you out.
Yeah, and it's fair.
And
if the noise is loud enough, some of these platforms will actually take the audio away from you and play the audio. Like everyone's hearing the audio from that new person.
Oh, okay. I mean,
I know that some things that like, they don't just allow everyone's audio at once and whatever. It's like whatever's the most prominent sound will take precedence.
I mean, most times now during the Zoom shows, they give me control so I can mute everybody.
Okay.
Right. I've never had to do that. Some of the interactions are hilarious. I mean, there was one, a dog jumped in. So I love dogs. You start talking to the person about the dog, and but this was the most bizarre experience. Was somebody, I was doing something for the Jewish General Hospital, and in the middle, I just hear, "Can I ask you a question?"
While you're talking, you're like,
Yeah.
"What?"
And I was like, "Okay," and they just wanted to know if I knew their sibling, because their sibling kept saying to them, "Oh yeah, I went to school with them." And I was like, "Yes, can I carry on now?"
Yeah. It's like in the question state.
I was like, I can be emailed through my website. That's all I said, But she was very, so there is a little bit of interaction, which does make me miss the club so much more, and the interaction. Like even when I was in Ottawa, I did a lot more material than I usually do. And that's because I haven't had the opportunity on a regular basis to use that muscle, which is everybody just thinks, Joey goes up, he's not prepared. I got to psych myself up, and I got to get into a mindset, the Gord Downey mindset, I call it, where you want your head as clear as possible before a show. Like you want nothing preset, and to me, that's a leap of faith. You know that you do, you do crowd work as well. So for me, I just want, like I said, I wanted to do material, some old, some new. You gave me some great advice. That joke's
Me?
working. Yeah, with the cats.
oh yeah.
Yeah. I changed it up. But yeah, it's funny because the final line I always change up, and depending on the crowd, I always go too far.
But that's how we know where the line is.
Well, I just know that I did one for again, this whole local charity thing. And what was it? It was come here, wish I had better parenting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you just know that people but yeah, and through all this, there have been different stories that I think, people are sick of hearing about COVID. But if you tell a story about something that happened to you during this, and somebody else can relate to that, like, what was it like being at home alone? There's at least 40% of the population that knows exactly what we are talking about. And the other part of the population is going, I don't know what you're talking about, but fuck, I wish I was alone.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So I try to show that there was a good side to being isolated alone. There were bad signs, obviously. One of them being the anxiety, no matter how much weed you smoked, there were some tough days, man.
Yeah.
Like that first lockdown, when it was, 3 weeks and then 3 weeks and then who knows? And, it seemed so long ago, but it also seemed like, oh my God, they don't even have a vaccine yet. We don't know how this, when we were literally in our houses for 24 hours a day,
Those of us who are listening.
Well, I would, during the first lockdown, we still have a curfew in Montreal, which is 9:30.
Oh yeah.
But I would usually go out at about 11 o'clock at night, and I'd put the headphones in for music, and I would walk. And I found it very peaceful because, again, nobody was out, but it would put me in a mood where I just got some exercise in, I'd come back, clean myself up a little bit, and I'd sleep better.
Yeah, I don't mean the people who were exercising. I had no issue with that. And people, dogs got to go out. I'm talking. I just happen to be around a lot of people who are like, I'm going to my buddy's house to go drink.
Right.
We're going to go hang out here. We're going to go to this place. Like just people who are just going out to shop for the sake of shopping because they were bored. I was like, and these were the exact same people that were bitching about when is this going to end. I go,
right.
Maybe when you stay home.
Yeah,
You know
I mean,
like,
literally at the first round, I was lucky enough to have a friend that was an essential service worker, and they would ask me, "Oh, listen, I got to go do groceries for my mom and myself. What do you need?" And I would send them the money, and they would literally just drop it off in the bag on the front door. You know, I'd get the text, "Yeah, it's at your front door." I'd be like, "Okay." I didn't go out for any of that.
Yeah, I did that for my mom.
You know,
just to keep her inside.
Right. That made sense.
Yeah. And I think like once a week I would meet her at like a soccer field and we would stay 10 feet apart and we'd walk the dogs.
Right. I mean, my sister did the grocery shopping for my folks. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was just like, I wasn't seeing anybody. Meanwhile, my roommates were like twice a week going to see girlfriends they didn't live with. And you know what I mean? Meeting friends for drinks and hanging out, playing darts. And it's like, all right, well, none of that is safe.
The only time we broke protocol was my mom passed away in November, and we sat Shiva. For those of you who are unaware, this is when somebody in the Jewish faith of blood passes away. You have to sit 7 days of mourning. Now, usually it's a free-for-all. Like, people come and pay respects and stuff like that. But it was just myself, my two siblings, my dad. And we did it at my brother's place. It's big enough. And so his wife was there, their baby, their other older son, and then my sister's fiance would show up at night. But even when we were in the house, we wore masks, talking to one another. You know, dinner, we were all spread out. So that was the only time. And then when we left the house, we would all go back to our own houses. And that went on for 6 days. You know, on the 7th day, we just decided, like, look, do your own thing. We're supposed to walk around the block or something together.
Yeah.
You know? And now, you know, lucky enough that my dad's been vaccinated. My brother and his wife have been vaccinated because there was a spike in certain schools. And if your kid was in one of those schools and you lived in a certain area code, you got a vaccine. So they've been vaccinated. So even now, like Friday night, my dad went over to dinner to my brother's. But again, he came in, wore the mask. He sat at the other end of this long table. Dinner was finished. Like, he doesn't touch his grandchild.
Well, and now is like a year after the fact too, where I think a lot of us are kind of like, I've avoided it this long. I'm using
the fact that it's only one person though, still, and that is the rule in Quebec, that if you live alone, right, you can go into another household.
Yeah. Because you've effectively been by yourself anyways. If you're out, like, that's the thing. You go into a grocery store and, like, yeah, you might. I mean, if you're touching everything, I take my mom now, like, before it was like, you stay home, I'll get your groceries. Now it's like, I'm going with you.
Yeah.
Because my mom will go in somewhere and pick everything up and put it down and touch it and listen, and then go and rub her face and fix her. I'm like, can you stop touching everything, Mom?
Yeah.
I go, if you want to see something, I'll pick it up. I'll hold it for you. Because I have the good sense not to touch myself afterwards, and I'll sanitize on the way out. You know what I mean?
Well, I walk around with
I'm watching her
sanitizer.
touch something, touch her phone afterwards, which I know will be on her face at home. You know
But
what
listen,
I mean?
at least she's trying. I mean, I don't understand how a year and change into this, how you still have protests with anti-maskers. And what's even worse is when you realize you're somebody you know and like is like anti-mask, anti-vax.
I think
I have no problem. Listen, if you have an allergy to vaccine, I get it, man. But if you don't understand that not getting this is not going to help solve the situation, it's almost like if you don't vote, you can't bitch.
Right.
You know, if you don't get vaccinated, I don't want to hear you.
And if you can't get vaccinated, you should be pro everyone else getting vaccinated, because then they can't give it to you.
Right.
Right. That kills it's the herd immunity is what they call it.
It's depending on who you go by. Some people say it's 80% of the population. Others say it's 85. You know, so if we can get to 90, 92%, that is, you know, herd immunization.
Well, and Derek Langevin is like, I think I saw this on his, I don't know if it's his quote or whatever, but I saw it on his Facebook. He had posted it. And it was just about these people like not wanting to wear masks or whatever. Like the funny thing is those people who are like, it's my body. The government can't tell me what to do. I'm like, well, they can tell you. Okay. So what he posted was I get not wearing a helmet and I get not wearing a seatbelt. I don't get drinking and driving. And I was like, fair point, right?
Yeah.
Helmet and seatbelt, you're only fucking yourself up. Drive drunk, you could hurt somebody else.
Right.
And that was his point about the masks. So the funny thing is like these same people who are like, oh, government can't tell me like to wear a mask. It's like, so are you also one of those people who's like, they can't tell me not to drink and drive. I can do whatever I want. Like how
I remember, I'm old enough to remember when, you know, seatbelts became mandatory.
Yeah.
You know, and it was instant. Nobody complained. People forgot to do it because it wasn't, you know, now you watch everybody get into a car and the first thing they do is seatbelts. You know, they look forward or they're over that shoulder, you know, front seat, back seat. And if you're in the back seat middle, you're like, oh, there it is. Okay. You know?
Well, I watched there's so unpronounceable, the stupid name, but it's on YouTube and it's called Kirkazak in a Nutshell. Is what it's called. They're brilliant. I came across them at the beginning of the pandemic because they had a video about how the coronavirus works, like what it does to your system and everything, and how it's attacking, you know, humanity or whatever. And one of the things in it, they had a video later about vaccines and how vaccines work, and it's like, should you get vaccines or shouldn't you get vaccines? And, you know, he basically, the narrator, whomever that may be, but they work with foundations. As you watch these videos, they cite everything that they say at the bottom of the screen and where their sources, like they're, and they don't take sides, generally speaking. They kind of like explore something and go, here's the way to look at it. But like, so they're saying like with vaccines, there's almost no evidence. All these anti-vax things that came out to say like, you know, causes autism, whatever. They're like, if you look into it and you look at all of it, there's nothing that shows anything related. And even the ones that claim they've got it under intense scrutiny, there's been nothing there. And they said, so like, yes, there are people who will get a vaccine and have a bad reaction.
Sure.
But they said they literally have seatbelts. They literally use seatbelts as an example, saying like, are there the rare cases where the seatbelt caused the death? Someone couldn't get over where it was. Yes. But overall, they're still way safer to have than to not use at all because of the exception or whatever. So I found that interesting. Great free plug for them, but great YouTube channel. And it's not just medical stuff that they do. They do like what would happen if you nuke a city. What are the biggest stars?
So
in
it's
the
happy.
universe? Like
it's happy watching.
And it's animated. Like it's actually like a really cool animated thing. So you're not watching human beings.
So,
just cool animation. Yeah. They do ones on like, is organic food really better?
Let's scare the shit out of kids with cartoons.
Yeah. But they're fair. They're not scary. The only one that was like, oh shit, was what happens when you nuke a city.
Yeah,
and
no
it wasn't
shit.
Like, it wasn't like why or who's the it's just, let's just say you drop a nuke on this city. What happens? They describe like the process over the seconds, minutes, hours, days, and then years with like the cancer from the radiation.
Yeah.
And they basically just said like, you know, very rarely will they take a stance on something. But at the end of this one is like saying that like, whether you're, you know, on the end that blasts or receives or whatever, I think we all need to agree that these weapons are wrong.
Yeah, sure.
And it's like, get rid of them, right? It's just completely immoral to just drop a bomb on a city and what it does. They got some cool videos on that thing with, I dig them. No hard stances, just a lot of, here's some info. What do you think? Blah, blah, blah. I like their shit.
I'm into the new Mighty Ducks.
Oh yeah, I saw something posted, but I just assumed that was like a straight to video thing. Is it a series?
Yeah, they just because I got into Cobra Kai hard.
Did you? A lot of people did. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, because it was so. Listen, it's so shit. It's great.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was just good.
Well, the acting isn't great. You know, some of the story is a little exaggerated, but listen, it's great to see Ralph Macchio. It's great to see the guy, you know, Johnny Lawrence, who's probably my favorite character of all time now. And the way they weave the nostalgia of the first 3 movies, especially the first 2
Right.
with him, is fantastic. The writing is very clever. Again, the fighting scenes are much better. Obviously, the choreography.
Oh, they fight?
It's fucking crazy, dude. But Mighty Ducks is fun.
Okay.
And there's only 2 episodes, and it's fluff. Like, I mean, that's what I'm looking for now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm done with all this serious. Like, I'll admit, I've never seen an episode of Breaking Bad.
Okay.
Game of Thrones, nope.
Game of Thrones, I've seen 5 seasons.
What's another thing that everybody got into? Tiger King, nope. Couldn't give a shit.
That's just watching a train wreck. Tiger King's just watching a train wrecks of human beings.
Listen, if I want to watch Trainwreck, I'm just looking at my career right now. You know what I mean? Because we don't know if it's ever leaving the station again. You know what I mean?
But Breaking Bad, I can't recommend enough. But here's the thing: it took me 3 attempts. Like, I remember when it first came out, my buddy Patrick was like, "You got to watch the show, Breaking Bad." Blah blah. We watched the first episode. I didn't give a fuck. I didn't care. Years later, someone else was like, "Watch again and watch the first episode." Didn't care. And then another few years later, like right when the series had just ended or whatever, it was like, "You got to check out Breaking." And I'm like, I watched the first episode again. Still didn't care, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to plow through to the next episode. And I watched 3 episodes before I was like, all right, I can watch this. And by the end of the first season, I'm like, I'm in. My mother we've tried several times to get her to watch it. At the end of the first, I just go, Mom, at the end of the first season, you're going to be into it. Because the reason being is I know she would like Better Call Saul.
Okay.
And you can't watch Better Call Saul if you haven't seen Breaking Bad. Because it's the same series. But she was like, in a couple days, burned through like 6 seasons.
Yeah,
because
no.
she was like, it's that.
I haven't watched anything with seasons except for Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
And other than that, some of the best stuff I've watched during this pandemic was, the documentary on the Comedy Store.
Yeah, I watched that too.
That was great. The Trial of the Chicago 7 was fantastic.
Yeah.
I thought that was just the most. And honestly, I really enjoyed The King of Staten Island.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
I enjoyed that immensely. Other than that, a lot of hockey.
I watched a lot of documentaries.
I splurged this year. I got the NHL Network, so I just spend all my days, from 7 o'clock till 1 o'clock in the morning flipping through games, and doing crossword puzzles. And, today's a Monday, so I know tomorrow I'm filming. So,
right.
I'll try to do the responsible thing and be in bed by, midnight. Whether I fall asleep at a decent hour or not is different, but, I won't stay up watching hockey or, I won't watch another friggin' movie that I've watched 1,000 times.
Right.
Thinking that, maybe it ends differently after 2 a.m., so I try to be more responsible just so I can wake up and give myself enough time to know that I'm physically going to get hurt.
Yeah, take one of the pills. I'm late night. I'm like, do I put on something I haven't seen and get into it and can't fall asleep? Or do I put on something I've already seen that I know I like? I try now my strategy is put on something I've already seen that I didn't like. That's what it is. So that I won't get into it. I'll just fall asleep.
Yeah. I don't watch anything late at night now. TV, everything, screens off. I don't play my stupid little golf game on my tablet.
Maybe I'll try the fruit buds and see if that'll do it. Because without something, I can't. Like, I go to sleep when I'm wiped.
There have been days where I've gone to work to film at least twice during this pandemic where I had not slept. Like, my sleep patterns were so messed up that, it was like 3 and I'm like, okay, fall asleep now. And we all play that game. Okay, if I fall asleep now, I can get 4 hours sleep.
Sleep math.
And then by 5 a.m., knowing that, my alarm's going to go off at 8, and I'm like, you know what, fuck it. And I make myself a cup of coffee and, again, shower, go for my walk early in the morning. So I wake my body up. And then, the unfortunate part is most times that happens, I'm asleep and dead to the world by 9 p.m.
Yeah. It's, we're all figuring it out. Like, I mean, funny enough, it's when I was doing the 200th episode, I was saying, like, I had to edit a bunch of hour-long interviews, like, well, hour-long conversation. I only wanted 5 to 10 minutes, like a road story or an anecdote, but there was so much. There's the old parking alarm here.
That scared the shit out of me, man.
That's my alarm for every morning. The president's been shot.
No.
But
that's an Amber Alert. Like I wouldn't even pay attention.
Those are infinitely more annoying
and scarier.
Yeah, when an entire you're at a grocery store and the whole place starts. I'm like, oh, it's an air raid. Like,
well, yeah, because remember in Hawaii where they were like nuclear attack, we're all dead.
Yeah,
because the guy lost his password to say that it was a hoax or it was false.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, he couldn't get in to tell the entire state, the guy in charge, because he forgot his fucking password. How about click forgot password pretty quick? What's your dog's name? Yeah. Shih Tzu. Yeah, great.
Yeah. Fix that. Yeah, I don't know. All these conversations that I did, like I couldn't. There was a lot of like, how you been during the pandemic? You know what I mean? Like, whereas before I'd be like, hey, so how did you get started in stand-up? Like, we're gonna do the formal one next time you're in town.
Yeah,
but this will just be a fun like COVID convo, my buddy Joey. Because like everybody's kind of like, what have you been up to? Like, it's a
weird time.
Yeah, man, it is. It's fucking weird. And just like, how you keeping up with things? You know what I mean?
Well,
like that kind of stuff.
If you want to wrap it up on that, this is how I keep up with myself. Is everybody was like, you got to find a routine, keep that routine. So Monday is like my day off. Tuesday, I call it my parole day because my camera guy, David, shows up at 10 a.m., picks me up. Obviously, he's my officer, make sure I don't get in any trouble. We go out, we have some fun over the next 3-4 hours. We make some TV magic. He lets me pick up a coffee, and then he drops me back to isolation.
Exactly.
Back to solitary. Wednesday is laundry. Thursday is groceries, right? Friday is I try to make myself, even though I cook for myself every night, I try to make myself like a nicer dinner. It's Friday night.
Okay.
And then Saturday is, I know I'm going to watch all my hockey and that's my cheat day. So if I want to order some wings, I'll order wings. Okay. If I want to order like
I thought you meant like an anti-productivity day. Like every day's got a thing. You're like, Saturday's cheat because I'm watching hockey.
No, it's a cheat day in terms of what I eat. So I'll order, like I said, and the last time I ordered, last Saturday, I ordered a veggie burger. I mean, this is what's happened. And then Sunday, usually now I have a Zoom coffee every Sunday with the same friends. And some Sunday nights also with some old camp buddies as well.
That's pretty
So
cool.
yeah, I try to keep busy, and it's really at the point now when I have to pace myself also, because if you do too much too fast, it gives you too much free time. Free time makes you anxious.
Idle plans are the devil's plaything,
right? It makes you anxious. Like, why am I not doing something? I should be doing something, and that's when you get into trouble.
It's almost like Amish times. I've always said that, like, when people say, you know what I mean? Like, you get one chore done. Thursday's groceries. I'll take the wagon into town. I'll get the groceries.
Yeah, but I figure if this was Amish times, we'd all be having a lot more baked goods.
Oh, fresh butter.
Like, I didn't get into that craze of the bacon of the bread.
No, I saw it everywhere, but I'm just like, why is everyone doing the same thing? Can't you just find your own fucking thing and do it?
Yeah, everybody at one point was making homemade desserts. I was like, look, I bought Jell-O.
That would be funny, the lesser take on the things everyone's doing. I just figured I like it better when you just one thing a day. Like, that's why when people say, oh, technology's made our lives easier, I go, no, it's made tasks easier. Because you're back in the old day, if you had to mail a letter, it's like, I'm going to sit in the wagon and go into town and mail this letter and come home. Right. That was it. You sent the letter. That was your task of the day. Mission accomplished.
Right.
So email, sure, that task is easier, but you can't just fucking mail one email and go, rest of the day's mine. I was productive today. I got it done. It hasn't made our lives easier. It's made tasks easier. And now we have to
depends how important that email was.
Sure. But
I have sent one email and been like, I'm done for the day.
Oh, I most certainly have too.
And then of course, it's the difference is back in the day it would take 3 weeks to get a response.
Right.
Where now it's no, yes, thoughts.
Sure.
And now it just becomes a conversation.
And that's the thing. Like I said, the task itself is easier, but our expectation of how much we're supposed to produce and be productive is infinitely different. Like, I'm not sending that one email and going, "Where's my fucking dinner at 5 p.m.?" I worked all day. I got my task done, right? Whereas,
I'm like that.
Jedediah, yeah, exactly. Jedediah sits on the cart, brings the letter to town, comes back, and the wife's like, "Oh, welcome home. You weren't eaten by wolves on the way. Yeah. Here's your warm meal, you wonderful provider.
Here's your stew.
Yeah.
Made from everything that we provide for ourselves."
Now it's like, I sent an email. It's like, yeah, great job.
Yeah. And also I'd be like, "Why are all your kids pale?" We can make fun of the Amish because they can't listen. They can't write.
But those who are triggered on behalf of the Amish.
If you are triggered by the Amish, let me just say this and I know Josh said I'm a nice guy, but if you are triggered by the word Amish, go fuck yourself.
Yeah. And if you're Amish and you're triggered, if you broke your own rules to listen to this.
Well, maybe they're part of that breaking Amish thing.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, they get like 24 hours, 48 hours. It was a thing on A&E. It was pretty interesting.
Really?
Yeah, breaking Amish.
Oh man. I'll have to figure out.
I'm doing my own thing, breaking Judaism.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think I did that a long time ago.
I have a theory. You know, it's funny. I was chatting with somebody recently. They were Muslim, and they were at my house. Well, recently, over a month before the pandemic started. They were over and they were drinking. There was a colleague in the marketing thing. They were drinking, like tying one on, and they're like, "Oh, I'm Muslim," and I'm like, "Well, no, you're not. You're drinking."
Yeah, you're not Muslim. A practicing Muslim.
Yeah. I go, "You're agnostic." That's what. Like, I'm like, you subscribe to something more, and you believe in some of the rules, but. It's like you can't.
I followed some of the rules out of respect for my parents.
Yeah.
But if I didn't have to go to synagogue during that Shiva week, no fucking way, man.
Yeah.
I found very little comfort. Okay. I found more comfort just sitting in a room, like I said, with my dad. And my two younger siblings, the only other siblings I have, and my nephew when he would come home from school. I found more comfort in that, just us sitting around, not having a slew of people walk through and whatever. We were just sitting around. We'd shoot the shit, share some memories, and then, talk about basketball a little bit or hockey or whatever. And then my, 15-month nephew would come down and entertain us by farting and and that was it. I found more solace and comfort in that than anything in terms of listen, if you believe in spirituality and religion, more power to you.
Absolutely. That's always been my position. I'm envious that people have it. I just think it's funny when, like I said, someone who's of any faith and they're like, "Well, I don't do that, I don't do this, I don't do that part of it." I'm like, well, then you're not that thing. If you have a job description and they're like, "Here's what you got to do," you're like, "I'm going to do half of these," then you don't have that job. You're not working for that company. Well, theoretically. I
mean, most people who have a government job have a lot of titles that they don't really do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I just think it's funny. So you go, "Oh, look, you're still that thing. You still have beliefs. You're just
like
agnostic."
Premier. A lot of premiers have a lot of job descriptions that they don't really follow.
That's true. Yeah. And they do things that, Our premier, he's a lot of pie eating contests. I think that guy.
Listen, man, I would. There are days where I would trade you.
Yeah.
Just for one day. It is an interesting, because so many Quebecers are unhappy with our premier and the way the rollout of vaccines or what certain things were done. So many people in Ontario are so unhappy with Ford that I would just love to see for 2 weeks.
Would they be happy if we switched it?
Let's just switch it. Let's see if the grass really is greener on the other side. Yeah. And the answer is no. And as much as I've been critical of some of these people on air and in my act, this fucking thing is 10 steps ahead of us. Even with the vaccine, like all of a sudden these variants comes out. You're like, "Aha, we got you in a corner." And it went, nobody puts baby in a corner.
Yeah.
And now, we got to be just as crazy because this thing mutates. How come it doesn't mutate into something entertaining like X-Men?
Yeah.
Like if I had COVID and then I was like, "Oh, I have a variant." Yeah. I'm going to be, I'm going to be Wolverine, motherfucker. Yeah.
It's like the only visible mutants are redheads.
Don't even get me started.
We'll save it for the next one.
Yeah.
Thanks for hosting, man.
This is a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll definitely do it again. You'll be the first guy who's ever back.
We'll do it when I'm in Ottawa. We'll do it like a home and home series.
100%.
Yeah.
Thanks, pal.